Welcome to Permission to Heal. I am Marci Brockmann, and I am so glad you're here. In this podcast, we engage in meaningful, deeply human conversations using our voices to inspire connection, compassion, understanding, empathy, and wholehearted wellness. I want you to find the courage to transform yourself no matter what others tell you. Only you can give yourself permission to trust yourself, permission to take care of yourself, permission to follow your heart and desires, and build a life of love, home, and belonging. Through sharing our stories, we will help each other to heal and create the healthy, meaningful lives we richly deserve. We only need our own permission to begin.
You know, our bodies do change over time, and that's something we really do need to accept. I'm in my 50s as well, and I go through that as well. You know what?
It is what it is.
This is what happens. Our bodies change, and I think
I'm not going to look like I did when I was 35.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's a great conversation to have with our kids from when they're young, that they can already know that the same way they're going through puberty and they're changing, and then they're going through adulthood and changing, they're always going to change. And that's why the whole body perfection, talking about it, is always so detrimental, because we believe that our bodies don't change. But here you are literally talking to yourself and saying, my body is changing. It's something I do need to accept. And some days, you know, it's this way or that way. One of the conversations that I love so much is body respect, because it gives a way to say, I respect my body at all sizes, at all shapes, in all ways. I give my body the respect that it deserves. It sends me out into the world. It allows me to hug. It allows me to love. It allows me to use my bodies in more ways than ever imaginable.
I
And
created life, and I love with this body, and I learn with this body, and I create art with this body. And
yeah, sometimes I like to interchange the word love for respect, because sometimes love just seems like too big of a leap. But respect, I think we could all relate to that a little bit more.
Was giving one thing in my life, work, the power to pull me around by the nose. And it was at that point that I started to dive back into ancient wisdom, and I knew I had to make a change. And what kept coming up was mindfulness. And and that teacher 5 years before that had given me a simple breathing technique that I really hadn't used much up until that moment. And I realized that that simple technique is where I could start. Because he said to me years before, he said, can you sit? Yeah, I can sit. Can you stare at a wall? Yeah, I can do that. Can you breathe? Sure. All right. That's what you need.
Can you do them all at the same time?
I started to research, and I found in all these ancient wisdom traditions, mindfulness. My job wasn't the center of my life. It was just the thing I was giving all the power to pull me out of the moment. So I started to practice simple techniques.
My back was injured when I was a kid as a result of physical abuse, right? So I choose to exercise my body and build core strength and build more strength around that injury. And I believe that eventually I may be better off than I was, stronger than I ever was. And some people would misinterpret that and say that an injury made a person strong. And I strongly disagree with that. If pain and trauma made people strong, we would just traumatize people. We would inflict pain on them to make them stronger. The same is true of my spirit. There in my psyche, there are wounds in there that are lasting, from maybe might never go away. But as I exercise and build my spirit and my psyche, I develop greater resilience. Again, those things that did not kill me did not make me stronger, but I did. I chose to do the work.
Once your back is up against the wall, meaning like once you're forced, think about this pandemic. Once you are forced to do something different, you have no other choice.
Yeah.
You cannot run anymore. You cannot, put it under the sheets and say, I can deal with that later. No, because it's in your face. You have to confront this. It's like right here. And this pandemic is a perfect example of forcing people to really think about what's important, how to prioritize your time. what should I be doing with my time? I think there's going to be a lot of great stories out of the pandemic. You know, a lot of people choose to look at it. I always say you could choose to let this moment paralyze you, or you could choose to make this moment liberate you. You have a choice. It's your decision. And I always choose liberation, you know? Right. And so it's really about how you look at things. There's a quote that I love. It says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So it's always about perception. It's about what we are perceiving and how we're looking at it from the other side. And we have the free will. You know, the greatest gift that we have in life is what? The gift of choice. Mm-hmm. We have the gift of choice. It's always up to us.
This is when it comes all the way back to permission to heal, what you're all about here is that we need to work on ourselves. We need to go slow down. Mm-hmm. We need to say, what one thing can I do per day? And actually, something I would like to share right now is that it's very, very important for us to take silence into our lives again.
Yes, absolutely.
To have our phone on airplane, turn it off, go find a space in your own home that you can be alone, put a do not disturb sign on the door. I'll be available at 8 o'clock. In other words, tell them, you know, I'm going for an hour, but this is when the time is. So people know, oh, okay, yeah, they're not coming out yet. And make that your own space where you can sit and be quiet and have a chance to be with yourself.
The rule of improv is focus on the present. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that we're not good at in terms of communicating is focusing on the person in front of you. Right. And texting doesn't work. It's not enough. Inflection matters, tone matters, right. Mannerisms matter. It's not just words. And if you're not focused on the person sitting across from you, you may as well not be there. Yeah. And so that's one of our biggest problems is the misunderstandings we have with one another. In the conversations that we have, we've already made up our mind. We're not listening to the other person. We're not going to even entertain a different train of thought, a different idea, a different piece of information. So if you focus on the present, you just listen to somebody, you're going to not only hear what they say, but you're going to see how they say it, maybe why they're saying it.
Our chakras are, they run down the center meridian of your body, if you could imagine. And they open, I like to describe it like a kitchen funnel. You know how the kitchen funnel has a narrow end and then a wide end. So if you imagine two kitchen funnels together and the narrow ends of the kitchen funnel touching each other in your center midline, and then the open end of the funnel comes out about 2 or 3 inches in front of your physical body.
Interesting.
So that's the chakras pick up the energy of your energy field and the energy of what's around you. And if you slam on your brake, the chakra is going to tighten up. Right. You know, you get relaxed from acupuncture, it opens up and loosens. Since the energy field is about 2 or 3 inches around your body, you can feel the energy. If you take your hands and place them close together, Marci.
Yeah.
And just place them there. And what do you begin to feel as you hold your hands like a ½ inch apart from each other? Can you feel a little
bit of like oppositional magnetism in a way?
Right. So now pull them apart just a little bit more. Can you still feel it?
Yes.
And now pull them apart a little bit more. Can you still feel it?
Yes.
Can you pull them apart a little bit more? Can you still feel it?
Not as much.
So bring them back together. Stop when you can feel it, right? So you can feel it. It's like squishy.
Oh my gosh. I am such a big storyteller. I love telling stories because I love when my students tell me stories because it creates a community of trust and respect. Mm-hmm. And having those relationships, as you know, is the foundation of everything we do. Absolutely. You know, children want to learn from people they like and care about, right? And they want to know that you have a respect for them. So it's like the symbiotic relationship. So yes, I think the journey is important, and also like being there to help facilitate that journey for them and expose them to so many different ideas and topics, because we want to try to spark their passion and interest for things and pique their curiosity so that they can discover a passion for something. And that's why we're here, to support them and facilitate that work. We're not here to tell them, at least this is my perspective, what to do or what they should do.
Oh, of course.
Slow release is where the magic really happens, especially in the last like 10% of the motion. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like, imagine, for example, something you can do is just sit up straight or stand up.
I'm going to do it with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So sit up straight in your chair.
Okay.
And then usually it's easiest if you're just on the edge of your seat, so you can plant your feet. And then slowly shrug your shoulders all the way up to your ears. Try to keep your chin parallel with the floor. And then release as slow as possible, like as if you were like slow as molasses.
Molasses in January.
Yeah, and just keep going. You might get a little bit of shaking. That's normal. And
I went down too fast.
I'm
done already.
So you should go to about at least a count of 10. So especially in that last little bit, it's sort of tempting to just let go, but just sort of start to experiment with like how much room is left, and that should help release. Yeah. So what you're doing in that particular exercise is releasing the upper trapezius muscles. So that's the top part of the large triangular group of muscles on your back. And those get really tight a lot of the time just from sitting at your desk. So just doing that and releasing as slow as possible is going to help to start resetting those muscles.
To sit there and say, if I can't see your trauma, if I can't see your quote brokenness, it's not real.
Right.
And so then, like you said, it makes you question in your head, like, am I blowing something out of proportion? Is something wrong with me? Would other people not be bothered if that happened to them? You know, or if your family perhaps is part of the trauma, them saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. You know, we were fine. You were fine. I saw you grow up and it wasn't that bad. It just makes you think like you have something wrong with you. And when you grow up with that perspective, you're convinced that you do. And no matter what happens in your life, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for the next big trauma. You're waiting for the next challenge. And then you live in fight or flight or freeze. And once you're in those things for an extended amount of time, decisions aren't being made. Your body and your brain are just reacting. And that's when we talk about having a hard time handling stress and trauma. There's no time to think because your body's just trying to stay alive.
At the end of the day, yoga is described as like a process of like self-actualization and self-understanding. So it's really all about cultivating self-awareness, about understanding yourself better, and I guess living in the best way that you can for yourself.
Sure. Thanks to all of you who support this show on Patreon. You keep Permission to Heal up and running. If you want to become a valued patron, please go to www.patreon.com/permission to heal. That's www.patreon.com/permission to heal. After we pay expenses, 25% goes to scholarships at the Karen Treatment Centers to transform lives impacted by addiction. Your support is contributing directly to helping people and their families transform and heal from addiction. This is a cause very close to my heart, as my mother died of the effects of opiate addiction, and it tore my family to pieces. Thank you so much for supporting Permission to Heal and my mission to support others through their healing journey, through addiction, through Karen Treatment Centers. You are vital to our success. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Permission to Heal. I hope you found it moving and inspirational. Please remember, you don't need anyone else's permission to trust and follow your heart. You have the power within you. Subscribe to Permission to Heal so you don't miss any new episodes, and please share this with your friends.